It's time for story time.
The Dog and His Reflection. Puppy was having the best day of his life. The farmer had just given him his very first bone. It was a magnificent bone with lots of juicy meat. Although Puppy couldn't wait to eat, he wanted to show it off around the farm first. "Caw, what a fine bone," said Hen as Puppy strutted proudly past. It's nearly as big as you," laughed Cow. That looks tasty," said Fox. "You wouldn't like to share it, would you?" Puppy quickly trotted off, the bone still clenched firmly in his teeth. He was looking for a place where he could be on his own, with no one else hungrily watching him. So he headed for the woods. Puppy had never been into the woods before. It always looked very dark and scary, but it seemed a good place to enjoy his bone in peace. But the woods was even scarier than he imagined. An owl hooted at him from the trees. "Hoo-hoo! Sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you," said the owl. "I was just admiring your fine bone. Make sure you take good care of it. Hoo-hoo!" Although the owl turned out to be friendly, Puppy still didn't really like the woods. So he ran all the way through to the other side, where he found lush green fields. Puppy had never been this far away from home. It was exciting, but a little scary, too. Soon he came to a wooden bridge over a very clear river. This was very different from the streams around the farm, which were all muddy and full of weeds. Puppy was curious. On the other side of the bridge, a family of rabbits were playing in the field. The rabbits wouldn't want to share my bone, Puppy thought. I'll dash over the river and dig into it in peace. By now, Puppy was feeling very hungry indeed. All he wanted was to sit in the soft grass and chew his bone in peace. He wobbled as he started across the old bridge. He tried not to look down, but then he reached the mill. He could not resist a quick glance. He was surprised to see another dog peeping out from under the bridge. Puppy went a bit closer to the edge to have a better look. As he did so, the other dog peeped out even farther so Puppy could now see his whole face. In between his teeth, he was also carrying a bone, and it looked just as big and juicy as Puppy's bone. "I wish I could have that bone, too," thought Puppy. So he started to growl at the other dog, hoping that it would make him drop the bone and run away. Now the owl had flown out of the woods and come to perch on a nearby tree. He was watching Puppy very carefully. "Hoo-hoo! Oh dear," said the owl with a shake of his head. Puppy began to growl even louder at the other dog. After all, that dog didn't look any bigger than himself. But the other dog still refused to run off, seeming to growl back. "Hoo-hoo! It's not a real dog or a real bone," hooted the owl. "Be happy with what you already have instead of being greedy and trying to take even more." But Puppy was not listening. He suddenly let out the fiercest bark he had ever made. "Woof! Woof! Immediately, the other dog dropped his bone. Puppy felt very proud of himself. But then he realized that he didn't have his own bone either. It had fallen out when he opened his mouth to bark. Yes, there it was, right at the bottom of the river. Puppy sniffed miserably. He noticed that the other dog was sniffing miserably too. It was then that Puppy finally realized that the other dog wasn't real at all, nor was the bone. The owl was right. It was just himself, reflected in the clear water. Seeing what had happened, one of the little rabbits hopped onto the bridge. "Don't worry," he cried. "Come and play with us." But Puppy didn't feel like playing. Instead, feeling hungry and sad, he set off on his own. Just as the wise owl had told him, he should have been content with the gift he had and not greedily wanted even more. The end. The Ant and the Grasshopper. Grasshopper loved the summer. He would spend all day perched on the blades of grass, basking under the sun. Just occasionally, Grasshopper would hop from one blade to another. But most of the time, he was happy, doing absolutely nothing. Grasshopper idly rubbed his legs together, making a happy chirping sound. Long summer days lazying in the lush green grass, he thought to himself with a smile. Oh, can there be anything better? Grasshopper was just about to doze off when there was an annoying heaving and panting sound right beneath him. It was an ant pushing a piece of corn across the ground. No wonder he was panting, because the corn was twice as big as he was, and the nearest cornfield was a good distance away. What a silly thing to do on a hot sunny day like this. Grasshopper laughed. Just look at you, all worn out. It has to be done, said Ant, wiping his brow. Phew, I have to take this corn to my nest. No, you don't, said Grasshopper. You just eat it here rather than drag it all that way. Come on, we'll have a picnic. Ant wiped his brow again. He would have loved to stop for a picnic, but there was far too much work to be done. You don't understand, he told Grasshopper. This corn isn't to eat now. It's to store in my nest, he explained. Grasshopper laughed so much that he nearly fell off his blade of grass. But that means you'll be going back and forth, heaving heavy loads from dawn to dusk, he mocked. In all this heat? I know, said Ant. But it's so I have plenty of food for winter. Nothing grows then. It's not like it is now, when there's food wherever you look. Grasshopper lazily glanced all around him. It was true. There was food everywhere you looked. Lush grasses, golden fields of corn, delicious little fruits and berries. It was also true that by winter it would have all disappeared. But that didn't mean he was going to scurry frantically around like Ant, puffing and panting on a hot sunny day. Winter's ages away, said Grasshopper. Enjoy the lovely summer with me. Crawl up here and let's have that picnic. However, Ant wasn't already crawling away, lifting the ear of corn again, heaving it across the ground. Crazy! Grasshopper called after him. We ants like to think ahead. Ant panted in reply, not for a moment pausing in its heavy task. Summer won't last forever. Grasshopper jeeredly shook his head, reclining on his lush blade of grass. As he looked up at the perfect blue sky, he wondered how anyone would possibly think about winter on a day like this. It seemed to Grasshopper that summer would surely go on forever. The summer lasted for weeks and weeks, months and months, but it did not go on forever. Eventually, the long, cloudless days became a little shorter. The sun was not quite so hot now, and the flowers were starting to fade. Autumn had arrived. I had better stock up with food, Grasshopper said to himself, climbing down from his blade of grass with a shiver. He was sure there would be a little bit left before the frost and snow arrived. Where can I find some food? He asked a little mouse who was peeping out from the leaves.
There's nothing growing,
replied Mouse.
You're too late. Even the fruit that fell from the trees has all been carried away by other animals.
Grasshopper was distraught. He felt so very hungry. How am I going to manage? He asked the mouse sadly. He knew that when winter came, he would be starving. Then suddenly, he had an idea. He would visit Ant. With all that corn he had been storing up right through summer, Ant would surely have a little spare to give to his hungry friend. By the time winter set in, the hunger and the biting cold made Grasshopper weaker and weaker. It took him a long time to reach Ant's nest. Ant, are you there? He called faintly. It's your friend, Grasshopper. I've got no food. Could you spare me a little of yours? Ant took a good while to emerge from his nest. In fact, Grasshopper wondered whether he would appear at all. He remembered how unkind he had been to Ant in the summer. Finally, though, Ant did emerge, and he was carrying lots of food. Grasshopper gobbled it all up gratefully. I'm sorry I laughed at you for collecting all that corn, he said. Next summer, I'll follow your example and think ahead. Ant smiled, pleased that Grasshopper had learned his lesson. The end. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Peter, who lived in a little village in the mountains with his parents, who were sheep farmers. It was Peter's job to watch over the flock and to protect the sheep from wolves. Day after day, Peter sat on the mountainside watching the flock. It was very quiet, with no one but sheep for company. No wolves ever came to eat the sheep. Peter got very bored. He tried to amuse himself by climbing rocks and trees, or by crawling through the grass and counting the sheep, one by one.
1, 2, 3, 64, 65,
counted Peter.
Oh, I wish something exciting would happen. I'm so bored. Same old mountain, same old sheep.
Finally, one day, Peter couldn't stand being bored anymore.
I know what to do.
He grinned to himself. He started shouting at the top of his voice.
"Wolf! Help! Wolf!"
Down in the village, a man heard Peter's cry.
"Quickly!"
he shouted to some other men.
"We need to help Peter. There's a big wolf attacking the sheep."
The villagers grabbed their axe, forks, shovels, and brooms and ran up the mountain to where Peter was shepherding his flock. When they came there, puffing and panting, all was quiet and the sheep were grazing peacefully.
"Where's the wolf?"
One of the villagers cried. Peter roared with laughter.
"Ha ha! There's no wolf. I was just playing."
The men were very angry with Peter.
"You mustn't cry wolf when there isn't one,"
they said. That night, Peter got a telling off from his mother and was sent to bed without any supper. For a while after this, Peter managed to behave himself. He climbed the mountainside with the sheep every day and watched over them quietly. The villagers soon forgot about his trick. One day, Peter got really bored again. He had already run up and down the rocks, climbed 3 trees, and counted the sheep 10 times.
"What can I do now? Same old mountain, same old sheep,"
he groaned to himself. With a sigh, he slumped to the ground. As he was sitting there, an idea popped into his head. He picked up some sticks lying nearby and started banging them hard together. Then, at the top of his voice, he shouted,
"Wolf! Help, wolf! Please hurry! There's a big wolf eating the sheep!"
Down in the village, a crowd of people started gathering when they heard the loud banging and shouting coming from the mountainside.
"What's all the noise?"
someone cried.
"It's Peter. He's in trouble,"
shouted someone else.
"Quick! There must be a wolf on the prowl."
Once again, the villagers grabbed their forks, shovels, and brooms. They ran up the mountain to chase away the wolf and save poor Peter and his sheep. And once again, when they got there, puffing and out of breath, all was quiet, and the sheep were grazing peacefully.
"Peter, what's happened?"
shouted one man angrily.
"Ha ha! There's no wolf,"
laughed Peter.
"I was only playing."
"You shouldn't make jokes like that,"
said another man.
"It's not good to lie."
The villagers marched back down the mountain towards the village. That night, Peter got an even bigger telling off from his mother, and once again he had to go to bed without any supper. For a few days, the villagers went around moaning about Peter and his tricks. But after a while, the incident was forgotten, and Peter continued to climb the mountainside every day with his sheep. He had decided that he would try and behave himself, especially as he didn't want another scolding from his mother. A few weeks later, while Peter stood counting the sheep as usual to pass the time, he noticed that some of them were bleating nervously. He climbed up a tree to take a look around and see what was upsetting them. To his horror, he saw a big hairy wolf. The terrifying creature was creeping through the grass towards the flock, with its jaws open and its long tongue hanging out. Peter could see the wolf's sharp, pointed teeth. Shaking with fear, he started screaming,
"Wolf! Help! Wolf! Please hurry! There's a big wolf about to eat the sheep!"
A few people down in the village heard his cries for help, but they kept on with their business as usual.
It's only Peter, playing another trick,
they said to each other.
Does he think he can fool us again?
And so nobody went to Peter's rescue. By nightfall, when Peter hadn't returned, his parents became concerned. Peter never missed his supper. Something bad must have happened. Peter's father gathered the people of the village, and together they hurried up the mountain, carrying flaming torches. A terrible sight met their eyes. All the sheep were gone. There had been a wolf this time. Peter was still in the tree, shaking and crying.
I cried out, Wolf! Why didn't you come?
He wept.
Nobody believes a liar, even when he speaks the truth,
said Peter's father, helping him climb out of the tree. Peter hung on to his father all the way home. He never wanted to see another wolf ever again. And Peter finally really learnt his lesson. He never told a lie again, and he always got to eat his supper. The end. The Gingerbread Man. Once upon a time, a little old woman and a little old man lived by themselves in a little old cottage. One day, the little old woman decided to bake a treat for the little old man. I'll make him a special gingerbread man, she thought. She mixed all the ingredients together, rolled out the dough, cut out the gingerbread man, and popped him in the oven to bake. Soon a delicious smell filled the little old cottage. The little old woman was just putting on her oven mitts to check her baking when she heard a strange voice calling out. Let me out. I finished baking, and it's hot in here. The little old woman looked around. She was confused. I must be hearing voices, she chuckled to herself. She opened the oven door and nearly fell over in surprise when the little gingerbread man jumped up off the baking pan, rushed past her, and ran out through the front door. Come back, cried the little old woman. You smell delicious. I want to eat you. But the gingerbread man was too fast for the little old woman. He ran into the garden and passed the little old man. Stop, cried the little old man, setting down his wheelbarrow. I want to eat you. But the little gingerbread man was already halfway down the road, outside the little old cottage. He was very fast, and the little old woman and the little old man were very slow. Stop! Stop! They wheezed, out of breath, as they ran down the road. The gingerbread man darted under the fence into a field, singing as he went. Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man. As the gingerbread man ran through the field, he passed a pig. Stop, snorted the pig. I want to eat you. I ran away from a little old woman and a little old man, and I can run away from you, he said. And he ran ever faster, followed by the little old woman and the little old man and the pig. Soon the little gingerbread man met a cow. Mmm, you smell scrumptious, mooed the cow. Stop, little man, I want to eat you. But the gingerbread man just ran faster. I've run away from a little old woman A little old man and a pig, and I can run away from you, he cried. The cow started to run after the gingerbread man, but he sprinted past her through the tall grass in the field, singing out, "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." The little old woman, the little old man, the pig, and the cow ran and ran, but none of them could catch the little gingerbread man. In the next field, the gingerbread man met a horse. "Nay, you look yummy," neighed the horse. "Stop, little man. I want to eat you." But the gingerbread man just ran faster. "I have ran away from a little old woman, a little old man, a pig, and a cow, and I can run away from you," he cried. The horse started to gallop after the gingerbread man, but he was already halfway across the field. He turned and waved at the horse as he sang out, "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." The little old woman, the little old man, the pig, the cow, and the horse ran, but none of them could catch the little gingerbread man. The little gingerbread man squeezed through a hedge and ran on, faster and faster, along a path through a shady wood. He grinned, feeling very pleased with himself, and rather proud of how fast he could run. "No one can catch me," he giggled. But just a little further on down the woodland path, the gingerbread man came to an abrupt stop. There, before him, flowed a wide river, completely blocking his way. While the little gingerbread man was wondering how he was going to get across the river, a sly old fox came up to him. "Hello, little man," said the fox, licking his lips. "You look like you could do with some help." "Oh, yes, please," cried the gingerbread man. "I ran away from a little old woman, a little old man, a pig, a cow, and a horse, and I need to get across this river so I can keep on running, and I can't swim." "Well, jump on my back, and I'll carry you across the river," grinned the sly old fox. "You'll be safe and dry." So the little gingerbread man climbed onto the fox's tail, and the fox began to swim across the river. After a while, the fox said, "You're too heavy for my tail. Jump on my back." The little gingerbread man ran lightly down the fox's tail and jumped on his back, clinging tightly onto his fur. Soon, the fox said, "You're too heavy for my back. Jump onto my nose." The little gingerbread man did as he was told and jumped onto the fox's nose. At last, they reached the other side of the river. The gingerbread man was just about to jump to the ground when the hungry fox threw back his head. The little gingerbread man suddenly found himself tossed high in the air, and down fell the gingerbread man, and snap went the mouth of the sly old fox. And that was the end of the little gingerbread man. The end. You did a great job with reading today. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of new books weekly.